It may be tempting to travel in the summer evenings, but in fact it is one of the riskiest times to travel by plane. Keep watching to find out why. You know how on a hot summer day the air just shimmers above the pavement? It's almost like the ground is breathing, sending waves of heat upwards. This shimmering effect is a visual clue to a fascinating process happening right before our eyes. That's because hot air rises, and as it does, it creates these invisible rivers of wind called thermals. These thermals are essentially columns of rising air that form due to the uneven heating of the Earth's surface. They can be powerful enough to lift birds, gliders, and even small aircraft. Now, imagine that on a much larger scale happening all over the place as the sun beats down on the Earth. These thermals can span vast areas, creating significant updrafts that can influence weather patterns and even contribute to the formation of clouds. That's what's going on in the atmosphere on summer evenings. The heat from the day lingers, causing the air to remain unstable and full of energy. This energy doesn't just disappear with the setting sun, it continues to affect the atmosphere well into the evening. And when an airplane flies through those thermals, it's like hitting a speed bump in the sky. It gets bumpy. Pilots and passengers alike can feel these sudden jolts as the plane encounters pockets of rising and falling air. Sometimes it gets really bumpy. These moments of turbulence can range from mild to severe, causing everything from a slight jostle to a more intense shaking that can make even the most seasoned travelers uneasy. We call that turbulence, and while it's usually not dangerous, it can be really uncomfortable. Turbulence is a common occurrence in aviation, and pilots are trained to handle it. However, it can still be a source of anxiety for many passengers. And here's the thing, it's not just the heat itself. The interplay between the warming and cooling of the Earth's surface plays a crucial role in creating these turbulent conditions. As the sun goes down, the ground starts to cool off faster than the air above it. This rapid cooling creates a temperature gradient where the air near the ground is cooler than the air above it. This creates even more instability in the atmosphere, kind of like when you pour cold milk into hot coffee. The different temperatures mix, creating swirls and eddies that can lead to unpredictable movements in the air. It gets all swirly and mixed up. This mixing of air masses can lead to the formation of more thermals and contribute to ongoing turbulence, making the atmosphere a dynamic and ever-changing environment. Meteorologists study these patterns to better understand and predict weather conditions. By analyzing data from weather instruments and satellites, they can forecast turbulence and other atmospheric phenomena, helping to keep air travel safe and efficient. So the next time you're on a flight and feel a bit of turbulence, remember that it's all part of the complex and fascinating dance of our atmosphere. And rest assured, pilots and meteorologists are working together to navigate these skies safely. Summer is thunderstorm season, and while a little rain might not seem like a big deal, thunderstorms can bring some serious weather hazards for airplanes. We're talking lightning, which can disrupt communications and navigation systems, and hail, which can damage the plane's exterior. And then there's the wind. Thunderstorms can produce powerful updrafts and downdrafts that can toss a plane around like a toy. And the thing about summer thunderstorms is that they can pop up really quickly. One minute the sky is clear and the next minute you're dodging lightning bolts. This makes it really difficult for pilots to avoid them, especially during takeoff and landing, which are the most critical phases of flight. Pilots have to rely heavily on their instruments and training to navigate through these sudden weather changes. Air traffic controllers play a crucial role too, constantly monitoring weather patterns and guiding pilots to safer routes. Sometimes, the best option is to fly above the storm, but that's not always possible, especially for shorter flights. In some cases, flights may need to be diverted to other airports to avoid severe weather. For passengers, turbulence can be a frightening experience, but it's a normal part of flying through stormy weather. Despite the challenges, modern aviation technology and skilled pilots ensure that air travel remains one of the safest modes of transportation. So, the next time you find yourself in a stormy flight, remember that the skies will clear and you'll soon be on your way to your destination. Okay, so we've talked about turbulence and thunderstorms, but the heat itself can also cause problems for airplanes. When temperatures soar, the challenges for aviation increase significantly. See, airplanes are designed to operate within a certain temperature range. Extreme heat can push these limits, causing various operational issues, and when it gets really hot, the air becomes less dense. This phenomenon is known as reduced air density. This means there are fewer air molecules for the wings to push against, which reduces lift. Lift is crucial for an airplane to become airborne and stay in flight. Think about it like trying to swim in a pool versus the ocean. The density of the medium you're moving through makes a big difference. You need to work harder to stay afloat in the pool because the water is less dense. Similarly, airplanes need to work harder to generate lift in less dense air. To compensate for this, pilots sometimes have to take off at higher speeds. Higher speeds can help generate the necessary lift, or with a lighter load when it's really hot. Reducing the weight of the airplane can also help it achieve lift more easily in hot conditions. And even after the sun goes down, the heat can linger. This is particularly noticeable in urban areas, especially in cities which tend to be hotter than surrounding rural areas. This is due to the urban heat island effect. This can create what's called an urban heat island effect, where concrete and asphalt absorb and retain heat, which can further disrupt airflow and make for a bumpy ride. The combination of lingering heat and disrupted airflow can make nighttime flights over cities particularly challenging. Maintenance crews also have to be extra vigilant in hot weather, ensuring that temperature-sensitive equipment is functioning properly. Pilots and flight planners must take these temperature fluctuations into account when preparing for flights. They need to consider not just the daytime heat, but also how temperatures will change throughout the night. Air traffic controllers play a crucial role in managing these challenges, coordinating flights to ensure safety despite the fluctuating temperatures. With careful planning and coordination, flights can still operate smoothly, even in the face of increased heat waves and temperature fluctuations throughout the night. As dawn approaches, temperatures begin to stabilize, offering a brief respite before the cycle of heat begins anew. The aviation industry continues to adapt and innovate to meet these challenges head-on. Chapter 4. Longer waiting times and delays. All of these factors, the turbulence, the thunderstorms, the heat, they all add up to one thing: delays. And nobody likes delays, especially when you're stuck in a crowded airport terminal. In the summer, especially during peak travel times, airports are already operating at or near capacity. So when you throw in weather delays, it can create a domino effect that ripples through the entire system. And it's not just the weather itself that can cause delays. Sometimes airlines have to ground flights because the tarmac is too hot. Seriously, asphalt can get so hot that it becomes soft and gooey, which can damage airplane tires. Chapter 5. More air traffic. Summertime means vacation time, and that means more people are flying. So not only are there more flights scheduled in general, but those flights are also more likely to be full. This increased air traffic can put a strain on air traffic control, which is responsible for keeping all those planes safely separated in the sky. It's like trying to direct traffic in a city during rush hour, only the stakes are much higher. And when there's more traffic, there's a greater chance of delays. Even if the weather is perfect, a single delayed flight can have a ripple effect that delays dozens of other flights. Chapter 6. Increased challenges for pilots and crew. Pilots and flight attendants are highly trained professionals who are used to dealing with challenging situations. But even for them, flying on summer evenings can be extra stressful. Think about it. They're dealing with more turbulence, more thunderstorms, more delays, and more passengers. And they have to do all of this while remaining calm and collected and ensuring the safety of everyone on board. It's kind of like being a chef in a busy restaurant kitchen. You have to be able to handle multiple tasks at once, stay cool under pressure, and make sure the food comes out tasting great. We've already talked about how hot weather can reduce lift, which means airplanes need more power to take off, and more power means more fuel consumption. This is bad news for airlines, which are constantly looking for ways to reduce costs, but it's also bad news for the environment. Burning more fuel means releasing more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, which contributes to climate change. And it's not just the heat itself that can affect fuel efficiency. When there's turbulence, pilots often have to take longer routes or fly at lower altitudes to avoid it. This also increases fuel consumption and flight time. So, if flying on summer evenings is so risky, when is the best time to fly? Well, if you have the flexibility, early morning flights are generally the best option. For one thing, the air is usually cooler and calmer in the morning, which means less turbulence and a smoother ride. Plus, there are typically fewer thunderstorms in the morning, so there's less chance of delays. And because there are fewer flights scheduled in the early morning hours, airports tend to be less crowded, and security lines are shorter. This means you can get through the airport and to your gate faster, which reduces your overall stress level. So, should you avoid flying on summer evenings at all costs? Well, it's not quite that simple. Sometimes evening flights are unavoidable, especially if you have work or other commitments. But if you do have the flexibility, choosing an early morning flight can significantly reduce your chances of experiencing turbulence, delays, and other travel headaches. And if you do have to fly in the evening, just be prepared for the possibility of a bumpy ride. Pack your patience, bring a good book, and remember that it's all part of the adventure. So there you have it. The truth about flying on summer evenings, it's not always a recipe for disaster, but it's definitely something to be aware of when you're planning your next trip. And hey, if you do end up on a bumpy flight, just think of it as a free roller coaster ride. Okay, maybe not, but at least you'll have a good story to tell when you get back. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more travel tips and aviation adventures. DFTBA.